many of us know Warren Buffett? Good. For those who didn't raise your hands, Warren Buffett is an investment guru. World recognizes him as an investment wizard. He's also among the richest men in the world today. But that's not what I'm referring Warren Buffett for here. Warren Buffett is arguably the man who has simplified investment mantras. The mantras by which he lives his life are so simple that it's easy for all of us to use in our daily life. And that's what I'm going to present to you. The learnings that I've had as an investment advisor from Warren Buffett and my own experiences over the past 20 years is going to guide me through in the next 13 minutes over the presentation. So first, let's kind of look at what is wellness in investing. We've looked at wellness in various forms. What is wellness in investing? And my thoughts on that is very simple, is that if you are looking at doing any investments, then there are two thoughts that come to you. Is investment the means or is it the goal? Now the point which we need to understand is that investment as a means is what most of us end up doing, whereas investment as a goal is what it ought to be. I'll give you a small example. If you're a 40-year-old person and you plan to retire at the age of 58, you have exactly 216 paychecks coming your way. And within that 216 paychecks, you will need to ensure you pay off your mortgage, you make sure your kids go through the best of college, either in India or abroad, and then you need to make sure that you also plan your own retirement. All these you have to do while simultaneously you're faced with a demonetization, a GST, a RERA, and an insolvency kind of act that's kind of disrupting the economic environment. Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, Brexit kind of events is kind of disrupting the global economic view. And artificial intelligence, robotics, and kind of stuff is kind of making life a very different place for us going forward. So in all this milieu, how does one find nirvana? That's what, to me, is wellness in investing. And hopefully over the next few slides, I'll be able to give you my point of view. What is a goal-based approach? As I said, you can either do investments as a means or as a goal. I believe that doing it as a means is not the way forward. Doing it as a goal is the best route. And let me illustrate. If you're a person who is in your 40s and you're looking at planning your retirement, and all of us need to retire at some point in time, so we'll need to plan our retirement, and we'll need to kind of do our children's education planning and so on and so forth. All these are events that are definitely going to happen in our life. And all these require two aspects. One is vitamin M, which is called the money, and the other is vitamin T, which is the time. All these happen at a definitive time. Now, between vitamin M and vitamin T, if we're able to plan our lives in terms of what I need at what point in time, both for retirement and children's need, then I think you would have done a great deal in terms of planning yourself. And I'll give you a simple illustration, because this is where I think it tends to kind of simplify. Assuming that you wanted to get from this hotel to the airport, and if that's the destination that you want to reach, and if you had, say, 1 day to go, you'd probably walk it down, right? And if you had probably 3 hours to go, you'd even take a bus. But let's say you had only 1 hour, then you would have to use a cab and reach it pretty fast. So the point which I'm trying to allude to is that in goal-based investing, once you decide the goal and you decide the timeline, then the investment product that you need to choose, the investment vehicle, whether it's the bus or whether it's the car or whether it's the walk, falls in place automatically. Small things add up. Every little thing adds up. So let me give you a classic example. If you were to lose weight, say 5 kgs in, say, 1.5 months, we have two alternatives to do. One is we can pick and choose, make our diet very bland, change our lifestyle wholly, go into something very, very deep and very difficult, or we can choose an easy way out of making some small changes in our life, which will mean that we cut out a fair amount of high fat or whatever be that stuff which kind of makes us grow heavy. Between the two, the first alternative always is tougher, because at some point during the next 45 days, it's likely that you will drop off. Our willpowers are limited, so we tend to drop off. Whereas in the second alternative, when you make these small changes, add a little bit of exercises to it, make a small diet chart, follow that through, it's always easier to do. Small things always add up. I'll give you a simple example, which we call the filter coffee effect, right? If you're a filter coffee lover, and we're all in Chennai, so I'm guessing that a lot of us are filter coffee lovers. So if you're consuming umpteen cups of coffees in a given day, and if you're able to just cut one single cup of coffee, and if you're able to, of course, it's healthy as well, but I'm talking about the financial implication of this. And let's say the 100 rupees saved, if you're able to deploy somewhere, set it aside, save it, over a 20-year period, it'll add another 30 lakhs to your retirement, right? Significant amount. 30 lakhs is a lot of money. And we're not doing big stuff. We're talking about just 100 rupees a day of saving, avoiding that extra coffee that's actually harmful to your health. We've had a lot of talk. I think Dr. Velumani spoke about frugal. I think today, when you open a newspaper, billion-dollar sales screams at us all the time. So we're all kind of being led by this mafia of people who want to push stuff at us, move our bank balance out and bring products into our life, which we may want but not need. So a lot of stuff we end up buying today because we feel that we need to have it. There's a life of instant gratification. And since we started off speaking about Warren Buffett, the world's richest man, just to give you a quick insight, Warren Buffett continues to stay today in the house that he built in his 1950s. So over the last 65 years, he has not found a reason to change his lifestyle. He continues to enjoy his enjoyment involves having a soda and a popcorn and watching TV at the end of the day. That's the life of the world's richest man. So I think we all can kind of take a little bit of frugality from that. I'm not saying live really below your means, but make sure that you don't jump at every mobile phone ad that comes by. So there is, the past 1.5, 2 years, there's been a lot of regulations and changes that has made interest rates move down. Especially in India, you're finding that interest rates have moved down. And real estate is not really the place for many people to look at as well, because it's also had its fair share of pain. So people have been jumping into the stock market. And to give you a sense of it, over the last few months, we've seen gushing money coming into the stock market through the mutual fund route. Almost about 5,000, 6,000 crores is coming monthly into the stock market. And a lot of people are coming into mutual funds and stock market without actually understanding what equity is, right? What is equity? What is investing in equity all about? I'd give you a one line what equity is, which Warren Buffett very, very nicely puts. Equity is all about buying companies. When you buy a stock or a mutual fund, you're paying a price to buy that, but in return, you're getting a value, right? So there is a price and there's a value. And the idea is most people confuse the two. While price changes every day and many times a day, value rarely changes, right? So if you're buying, let's say as an example, in Larsen & Toubro stock, that stock could be 1,500 today, could be 1,400 tomorrow, could be 1,600 day after tomorrow. But company like Larsen & Toubro, which is built over a 60, 70-year period, does not change every day. The value of that company doesn't either go down or go up dramatically in a short period of time. So my take is that when you're investing in stock, please make sure that you give it that time, think about it, look at long term. And it's very, very important to give time for investments, especially in equity. Risk, I have a small story to tell. We're all descendants of people who started out in the African savannah. So I'll give you a small story about that. Let's say 4 of us, 40,000 years ago, are walking in the African savannah. And as you walk up, you see a bush that's kind of shaking. And then you realize that, as humans, we are curious. One of us goes closer to that, and the rest of us are actually waiting to run, right? Now, the guy who goes closest to the bush is usually killed. And we're all descendants of the guys who ran at the first drop of hat, right? So the point which I'm alluding to is it's in our genetics to run at the first point of danger. Today, that spills over in our investment decisions as well. Whenever we put money into a stock markets are up and down. They are animals that are very volatile. But we run at the first sign of danger. And that's where we make our fundamental mistake of not staying invested. Unless fundamentals of a company change, there should not be reason for us to exit in short term. We should wait out volatility. That's my message. Please understand risks in stock market. Assuming an investor were to invest 10,000 rupees, which is yielding about 15% on a yearly basis, and if he's at age 40 and he invests right through about 60, what's the kind of corpus he would make? That's about 1.5 crores is the money he will have in his hand when he retires. Any guesses on what this corpus would be had he started just 10 years ahead? If he had started at 30 and at the age of 60, any guesses, any number? I think the screen is a little low. The number is 6.9 crores, right? So just starting 10 years ahead, you would make 400% more returns. And that's the point which I wanted to make, is that we forget that the power of compounding is very, very huge if you can start early. So please make sure that you don't lose a day and make that whole process start much earlier. Because at the end of the day, power of compounding is a bigger return than the return on investments that you think you need to get. That's what Albert Einstein said. Power of attorney, power of compounding is the 8th wonder. And those who understand it make profit, and those who don't pay the price, right? And that's really what you need to let your money stay longer in the race, and that's really where you will see a great return. Stock market is also a place which sees a herd mentality, right? Most investors, most fund managers behave as herds. And if you've seen National Geographic's, herds generally run together. Even if it's in danger zone, they all run together. If you want to be successful in stock market, you've got to be different. Think different. You have to let your investment stay and not be swayed by the short-term nature of the herd. And that's where money is to be made. So think different, behave differently. Investing is simple. Do not complicate it with emotions. Most of us make decisions in using emotions many a times, very unconsciously. But investment is a very simple field. But if you confuse it with emotions, you can go wrong big time. So invest is simple, make it easy. To conclude, don't just save, invest, because that's where money is going to grow. Goal-based approach to investing is the best form. Small things make a big difference, so don't miss out the small little things that can make a big difference. Avoid instant gratification. It's okay to deny yourself sometimes. All about equity investing. Equities are long-term assets, so give it time and stay true to your investments. Understand risks. You don't need to always scoot at the first sign of danger. Start early, think long-term, be different, and investing is simple, but not easy, because you've got to be able to take charge of your emotions. Happy investing and happy being wealth. Thank you.